Anthony Moyles is with us. Anthony, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, lads. How are we doing?
Very good. What's going on?
Not a lot. Very little, as a matter of fact. Just another week in paradise. And congratulations, Ger, on winning your, I hope your coveted medal there. I hope you wear it around the office all week.
He will.
It's something to behold. And fair play to you.
Just delighted Nathan's in the studio so I can rub it in,
Yeah, well, listen, it's all about taking part, really.
King of the lads.
We can all find excuses when we want to. It's making an excuse not to be there. That's it. That's it. That's what you have to be. So listen. Anyway, congrats.
Thanks very much.
Well done.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Tyrone were a rabble in the end.
Yeah, they're a rabble, all right. Well, we've been kind of looking at it all year. Obviously, some distress in the camp, something going on, numerous players leaving. We touched on it earlier on in the year. Why would you leave if you were in a panel that potentially could go and win a second All-Ireland? One or two guys might have personal reasons or different things that's going on, but the amount and the sheer number of fellas leaving kind of gave you an inkling that all wasn't well. They were different, to be fair to them. I think they were a lot better than they were against Derry. And when I say a lot better, I mean they tried. I watched numerous occasions where they were chasing back, and that energy and that kind of enthusiasm and that desire to get back and stop an attack or whatever it was, which wasn't there against Derry, was there. So to be fair, I don't think they went out on their shields. They didn't just go out with a whimper, but it just wasn't happening for them, Jared. It just wasn't happening for them. The defence has been leaky. They have been devoid of any kind of real idea of who their six is. They've been chopping and changing the team. Some of the changes that they made in the defence, just didn't work at the weekend. And, Armagh really probably could have bet them by 10 or 11 points. And when you look at it, a lot of teams, it's funny, you might have said before the draw, geez, I'd like to avoid Tyrone, but actually Tyrone were the team nearly to get, because once you got on top of them, I think the failings that they've had and the lack of energy and just the fact that so many players are off form just came back to haunt them.
Armagh's reward is a game against Donegal. It's like, great, haven't seen you in a while. Oh wait, hang on a second, we know each other all too well.
It's kind of like sneakily they've kind of done this Talton Cup North and South divide. Yeah. They've kind of managed to do it in the old hot balls, cold balls syndrome in the thing, because I'm amazed, like you look at the other side, Cork, no disrespect, but they get Louth and Limerick, and Armagh get Tyrone and Donegal. So that's going to be a cracker. Donegal, I think it's all a mental challenge now. That kind of first round of the qualifier when you get beaten and you have to go in, whether it's after a provincial loss or whatever it is. That's the mental side of it is the big thing. It's how the management team and the players pull things together post the loss, which is a sickening blow really to you, and it's like a wake, it's like a death in the family. It takes you about 5 or 6 days to kind of get through it. Then it takes another 3 or 4 days, depending on rows in the camp and people pointing fingers and everything else. So it's you generally do need a minimum of 2 weeks to get over it. But Armagh would be licking their lips because they would feel that they owe this game and that they that they're battle hardened now and they'll go in with a lot of confidence, whereas Donegal won't.
What about the Mayo performance against Monaghan? At one stage the shot efficiency was dropping to like catastrophic levels, and yet still they managed to win the game, which maybe is all that needs to happen.
Kind of a good team, Ger.
Until they get to Croke Park, and lo and behold, they're in Croke Park. I know nobody seems happy about it. I'd say James Horan is absolutely delighted the game is in Croke Park.
I love the fact that in Owen's absence, Nathan is just going for the complete opposite of the era. He's just bigging them up, like
just can't help ourselves.
Unashamedly so, which is the Mayo way. You know what? I agree with him. I think they got the job done. They racked up a decent score. I thought Monaghan were a little bit abject. I thought the game was very cat and mouse until the black card. Mayo made hay then. I think they could have won by more, But at the same time, they could have absolutely blown it with the last kind of 5 or 6 crazy minutes. Mayo will always come out looking confident. They'll always have the chest out. They'll look well. They'll flash a couple of scores. But there's always that inkling, especially when they're going through the back door, that it's a kind of a veneer. It's just there on the surface, and that if you crack it, that you might get in underneath it and that you might expose them. And to be fair, I think if that Monaghan game had gone on an extra few minutes, I think Monaghan could have caught them, because they were really teetering. They were like, the Aidan O'Shea hand pass, which should have been a penalty.
It was like the Dubs last year when they're passing back at their own goal line. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and it's a real lack of. It's not a lack of ambition. I think what it is it's a fear, and it's a fear of going on and pushing up and actually saying, you know what, we can go on and kick on in this game, and it's a kind of what we hold. And of course, what ends up happening is you fall back within yourself. Players come back, and you pull teams onto yourself. So the pressure actually builds, because you're trying to get out of your defence. You're seeing Monaghan fellas all over you. You're making decisions that you probably wouldn't make. The referee is probably giving the opposition team a bit of an opportunity. So he's not really giving you easy frees to get out of the defence or whatever it is, and it just heaps more and more pressure. They'll get a lot of confidence from that win.
Are they trying to prove something in those last few minutes? Are they trying to prove something around game management? Because it doesn't feel like game management sits well with this Mayo group over it's 100 miles an hour. It's keep kicking on in the last 10 minutes. We're actually trying to sit back and play that, Dub style possession football, keep it in our own half, 100 hand passes. That doesn't seem to fit with the skill set of this Mayo group.
You could be right, Nathan. And I think, often what if you watch Dublin or any other team when they're doing it quite well, is they will do it for a period of time, but then they launch like a long kick out to a kind of an outrider, a person who's just gone up the pitch, in behind the defence or the opposition offence, and tried to get in behind and tried to get a score down the far end, or even get a free. So in other words, someone like a Matty Ruan just takes off, you give him the ball and off he goes. I think that idea of game managing in your own half, or even from your own 30-yard line back, is dangerous stuff. And especially when teams are pressing so much and looking to turn the ball over and are so adept at doing that. So, yeah, is it a thing? I don't know. I think the point that you make on them being 100 mile an hour, that's the way they have to play. And that's the way when they tore Tyrone open, which they did. They could have had another 1 or 2 goals themselves. McLaughlin had an opportunity which really he should have stuck away, set up brilliantly by Cillian O'Connor. But I was a bit more impressed with their balance in the forward line. O'Connor's obviously getting back. He's got a few number of weeks under his belt with regard to training. He looked a bit sharper, and I talked some of the positional changes in the forward line were interesting. They still didn't set the world alight, and I think but again, they're coming into a situation now again against a team just like Ala Donegal that have the physical scar, or the mental scar and the physical scar of the Dubs absolutely trouncing them. So it's all, again, how does Glenn Ryan and the boys, how do they treat the video sessions and the recovery post that Dublin game? Do they look at that first 20 minutes, which we touched on, where there was unbelievable defensive errors, which allowed Dublin to have
hopefully they do look at it a bit and go, okay, let's not do this again. Let's do something slightly different, lads.
Yeah. Let's football 101. Here's the first lesson and the last lesson of tonight. Let's not do this. Let's not have this abject defending it. Well, I think they'll have to have like those Kildare players will be feeling absolutely desperate after that game. They have to give them the confidence about the second half and about how well they attacked and how well they transitioned and some of the scores they got, because there's no doubt about that. The forward line in Kildare is well able, but those defensive errors, that'll be crucified against Mayo too, because Mayo have those strong runners coming from deep. And if you watch, most of the goals that happened against Dublin was fellas switching off to runners, not knowing who they were going with, not communicating correctly. And if you do that against Mayo, you're going to get absolutely opened up. So you have to go wherever that runner goes to, whether it's Lee Keegan or it's whoever it is, you have to go with them.
And look, Mayo beat them fairly handy in the league. In the end, it was 8 points, but I don't think it was as much of a competition as some of the other games that Kildare played in Division 1. So Mayo, strong favourites for that, back in Croker, and probably one of those teams that none of the provincial champions actually want in an All-Ireland quarter-final, but we'll wait and see.
Banty was having a right old moan after the game, wasn't he, about that penalty? Like, in terms of teams being screwed over and a McEntee being involved, I think, Anthony, we can all agree it wasn't in the top one.
Wow.
It's on 3 or 4.
I mean, certainly the All Ireland. You don't even remember this, but there was a square ball that wasn't in the Down Kildare match in 2010. We would have got to an All Ireland final against Cork. So it does seem as if sympathy was in short supply for Monaghan at the weekend. Anyway, to move swiftly on, how is your candidacy for the Meath gig coming along, Anthony? Do you want to announce it right now, live on the air?
I think I'll hold it. I think I'll hold that in my pocket here, if that's okay. I haven't checked the terms and the conditions. The small print would be vital, I think, in that particular role. No, it's it's a sad state of affairs. I think first of all on the game itself, I think people who were going in thinking that Meath were going to win this well or in any other way were completely, those thoughts were completely unfounded, because I think Clare and Meath are pretty much close, and the last number of years, the battles that they've had, it's been a point or two either way. Clare fully deserved the win. I think Meath were I just looked at the highlights. I wasn't at the game, so I can't really comment. But looking at the highlights, the one thing that jumped out at me from the TV was a lack of energy, a lack of enthusiasm, a lack of intensity. And the Meath guys just looked like, they were just waiting to be, basically put to the sword. Bar a couple of great saves by Harry Hogan, it could have been a lot worse. And fair play to Clare, they kick on they go. So, Andy obviously announced his resignation last night. That's 6 years. And, I know Andy well. I would consider Andy a friend of mine. And, Andy has put massive amount of work in. He came with a great CV, as you guys know, like with Ballyboden and different things he did in Meath. He was probably one of the, I suppose, the guy in Meath at that time who had won the most at club level and had shown that he had the capabilities to do it. I think he tried well over, I think I saw someone putting up a tweet yesterday with the amount of players that he's tried, and from the amount of clubs, it's over 30 odd clubs have been used and well over 100 odd players. So it's not like he didn't go scouring the county to try to get talent. Now, some might say, did he chop and change too much? I don't know. If the players are there and they're putting their hand up and they're consistent, well, then they stay in the team as far as I'm concerned. And if they're not there, well, then you have to go find others. It's like, lads, honestly, intercounty management is not for the faint-hearted. It is an unbelievable task. It's a 7-day, 24/7 job. That is what it is nowadays, between the organising of the sessions, the video sessions, the analysis, being there, and whether you have a big backroom team or not, if the main man isn't there, the players will look, or people will understand and say, well, why isn't he here? And all it takes is one to kind of say that, and next thing, it just starts to spread. So you need to be there. You need to be present continuously. And, I know Andy has put an enormous amount of work and an enormous amount of commitment into that team, both on the field and off the field. He's very, very good to fellas off the pitches, helping them out with work and different things and introducing them to people and getting things sorted for them. And that's what it is. It's an all encompassing role. It's not just you go out there and you train for an hour and a half or 2 hours on the pitch and away with you. It is an unbelievable role, and it puts your life on hold. So, to say, Meath have a body of work to do to get the next person in, because it's going to be a very, very important appointment. And I think anyone who puts their hand up and goes, I can solve this, I think they're talking absolute BS, to be honest with you, because I think there's multiple layers that have to be solved, and it goes from the top all the way down to that person and further down. So it's not just a thing of, let's get a big name in here and we'll, just throw a number of people around him and should we have loads of talent. The talent was there. The talent was there with Andy, but was the character there, and was the kind of, I suppose, the real desire to push on and to win and to do all the different things that need to be done. I'm not so sure. And the first thing that has to happen is those players who have been left behind, who are now waiting for a new manager, a lot of them will have to have a good, long, hard look at themselves. And Andy has fallen on his sword, as has his management team. But in both the Dublin game and the Clare game, you know, a number of those players will have to take, as I say, a good long hard look at themselves and wonder, you know, do they have what's needed to go on? And I'm not just saying play for me or play for another. You know, a lot of people can play for an inter-county team.
It's to win.
It's what you can do to lead that and to really push it on and make the difference.
All right. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we'll come back to all that a little bit later on in the summer as well. Anthony, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us.
No bother, lads. Talk to you soon.
Anthony Moyles giving us his thoughts there. So give me your prediction for the score. Mayo going to whoop Kildare, or it'll be a close game?
No. As Anthony pointed out, it's a bit of Yearism needs to take place, I think.
Too late.
Dead cat
You've
bounce from
you've already
Kildare
booking
there, surely.
You're booking the hotels for the All-Ireland final, you were saying.
Can't even get the hotels. My main takeaway from the weekend is, do I need to revise where last year's All-Ireland final is in Mayo's list of what might have been, considering
how bad Tyrone were this thing?
Bloody hell, like.
The handy All-Ireland you coughed up again.